Welcome, Echo University folks. I'm delighted to talk to you. Thank you, Mike Bassages, for getting us all together to have a possible dialectical engagement discussion. I'm Mike Moscolo. I am the director of Creating Common Ground, and we try to help people bridge divides on contentious issues. Let me tell you what I might be able to offer us if we do this. Give you kind of an overview of what can happen. I'll be real quick. So if we work together, dialectical engagement involves two basic phases. The first is collaborative problem solving, and the second is dialectical problem solving. Collaborative problem solving, a lot of you probably already know an awful lot about. And if we have a discussion, it's not going to be about debate. It's not about debate because what happens in a debate, I think we all know that if we have a debate, especially a contentious one, between, let's say, a police officer and an inner city youth, the inner city youth might be saying police are killing black men without reason. The police officer says, well, police have to make split-second decisions, and there's a conflict. And they're going to debate. And when they debate, what you're going to get is back and forth, and I say, and then you say, contradictions, much like an American football game where one person will advance, and as the other person advances, the other person retreats. One person may gain ground, but any person's gaining of ground comes at the loss of the other person. It's a zero-sum game. It doesn't work very well. When was the last time you were convinced by somebody in a debate where you said, my goodness, you're right, I'm coming right over to your side? And it doesn't happen. So something different. Two steps in the process. The first, neither of these steps is about debate, and the first one is about collaborative problem solving. How might it work? So go back to our police example. You've got this conflict between these two people. And the first thing to note, like any good conflict management person would say, that each person's position is an attempt to meet some unmet need. And then the trick becomes trying to separate the needs from the positions. Try to find what those needs are in each person. So the person on the left, I want to be respected and I want to be safe. I'm afraid when I go out into the streets. The police officer, I want to be respected for my role. I need cooperation when I'm out on the streets. And what happens is, well, each person has got to be able to find the unmet need of the other person as well as in themselves. And once that happens, you bring those unmet needs to the surface, put them on the table, get rid of the initial positions. We don't need them anymore. We didn't need them in the first place. Bring them down and then see if we can find some solutions. Are there ways to meet all sets of needs simultaneously? It may sound hard, but it's possible. So we start to brainstorm solution. We come up with ideas of different solutions. So maybe police officer, you could show respect for people on the street by referring to them as Mr. or Ms. And maybe the person on the street can refer to the officer as officer. Or maybe they need to get to know each other as persons somehow in a shared space. Or maybe each one has to learn while the other one might feel afraid. Or maybe the police officer should walk a beat to get to know people. A whole bunch of ideas. Who knows which ones are good? But then you select one or you synthesize one without giving in on your needs. The police agrees to walk a beat without a gun for an hour a day. It says the youth says it agrees to say hello, officer, and the officer agrees to say good morning, sir. And silly, stupid baby step, easy start type of a thing. It's not going to solve any huge problem immediately, but there's a start. It's not nothing. So how could we apply this? Well, you get two people, one person takes a position. People need to homeschool their kids in order to avoid harmful ideologies. And another person might take an opposite position. Children need formal skills that can be taught effectively in schools. And then we have a conflict. But the trick is, don't focus on the positions. Don't debate. Don't try to convince each other. Instead, look for the unmet feelings and needs. What are the unmet needs that lead to those positions? So that's what we're going to try to find out. Find out what's the need that underlies one person's position, the need that underlies the other person's position. Bring those needs to the surface, both of them just like before. Get rid of the positions. We don't need them. We're not going to debate ideology. It's not necessary at this point. You put the needs and feelings on the table and you ask, how can we find ways to meet each party's needs at the same time? Generate a bunch of possible solutions and en route to coming up with a new shared solution, however grand, however small. The second step in the process occurs when ideologies clash. The first step that we just talked about, you stay away from ideology. The ideology is not your friend in the first stage. But collaborative problem solving can only bring you so far. It brings you to the point of ideology. And when you get to that point, step 2 begins where step 1 leaves off, but that's a talk for a later time. So what might our session look like? We'll get together, have introductions, give each interlocutor an opportunity to express their positions on the issue and tell their stories about how they arrive at that position. And then the big thing, we begin to identify the needs and feelings that underlie those positions using I statements. We're not debating. And then we brainstorm. Are there ways to meet all sets of needs simultaneously? That's our goal. Can we come up with shared solutions? And then, if we still need more, well, then you go into ideologies with dialectical problem solving. Thanks so much. I'm hoping that we can make this work.